GitHub stars will not pay your bills. Welcome to episode 3 of building a $1 million open source business. And reason why this episode is so critical to people that are building open source projects is because we sometimes get lost in the fact that we're getting all these accolades via these stars on GitHub, right? So you feel like, oh my goodness, I'm really doing something here with these stars, which is true. I mean, definitely it's affirmation that you're building something great, that people really love it. It's a tremendous feeling. But unfortunately, it does not pay the bills. So for any successful project, there's costs associated with it. And I know a lot of people don't like talking about this, right? Because, supposed to be open source and supposed to be free to everybody, but there is hard costs. So I'm going to talk through that in this episode. So I'm going to talk about what was my viewpoint in the very beginning and what my viewpoint is now. So as I stated before, in the beginning, it was I was just super geeked that people saw value in the project. And I really just wanted to get as many stars as possible. I think the first thing I figured out was that what I was building wasn't something that, I would get mass adoption from, because we are building something very niche, right? Because, we're not building just a simple little library that you can include into your application. We're building a complete SIP proxy system, right? So from when you stand up a new server and you put a one-line command in, within 12 minutes, you're able to start you can become basically a VoIP carrier, either for within your company or if you wanted to provide VoIP service to a set of customers. So this is something that everybody doesn't want to do. So first I had to come to grips with that and say that I'm not going to get, thousands and thousands of GitHub stars. So for those who don't know what GitHub stars are, real quickly, it's just equivalent to likes that you would get on any other social platform. So, and then I guess how I kind of in my head started evaluating this is that I kind of looked at Camilio, which is a project in which we're based off of. They only have 2,500 stars, and they've been around for 20 plus years. We've been around for 7 years. So we have 200 stars, right? So I just, you just had to come to grips with that. So I think when you're starting off with an open source project, you need to, and I know this is difficult for some people because some people are like, I just want to code. I just want to sit there and code and do a commit and share my code to the world. You'll get burnt out, and you're going to start getting a whole bunch of people. If you're successful, you're going to get a whole bunch of people starting to email you and saying, can you add this? Can you add that feature? Can you add that? So you really need to start figuring out, how are you going to fund the project? Are you really looking for this to be a project that allows you to showcase your talent? And you're hoping to get a job from this, or to move careers, or to, to start, maybe move from being a software engineer to being a senior, or being a software architect. Maybe you're using this as a mechanism to propel your career as a software engineer, or to get in, right? Or are you looking to fund this project because either you want this to be a lifestyle business that you make money from, or you want to be able to support the cost of the project, So there's really, a couple of ways of doing that in open source. One, you can sell consulting services, and again, you're trading, time for money, right? So you're going to get burnt out with that, and sometimes that's okay. And sometimes you have to go through that phase, and to get to the next phase. Or are you looking to more sell subscriptions to your actual software? And basically what that means is that you'll have your base open source version of your project, and then you'll have another version that will have some additional features that people would feel comfortable paying you support for. Or you may just say it may be the same project, but maybe you just, in order for them to get some level of support, they have to buy a subscription. Any of those approaches, those are great approaches. And I think that you got to find the approach that really works for you. I've been through all of them where, I started off like, man, I'm going to really showcase, I really know and I understand, and I'm still learning, obviously, Camilio, but let me start this project. Then I went to, let's sell some consulting services. We'll just help people do this. But the problem with consulting services is that it's not obviously it's not a something that actually builds on it every month. What happens is that you do the consulting services and then you're done, right? So the predictability of the income is not there. And then then moving to where we have a subscription is where we are today. That's a much better approach from my perspective, is because now we're not having to go resell or find new customers every single month. It's more of these folks have bought into the concept of the project. They're getting benefit from the project, and they're seeing it evolve, and they're a part of that evolution by paying hardcore money for the actual project. So that's kind of how I got to where I am today. So the beginning for me was really going through all of these different approaches, going through understanding and for myself coming to grips with, this is a project that, yes, we love it, is open source, but we need to be able to support the cost of the project. And so for many people, I don't think they understand, right? So, for example, if you have a project where you're wanting to support multiple operating systems, well, that means that you need to have, testing and quality assurance that actually happens on every single release on those different platforms, which means you have servers that you're paying for doing the testing. You have people that you're paying for. So these are all costs that goes into this. So you just got to think about this when you're starting to think about how you want to operationalize your open source project. All right, so now I talked to you about kind of the beginning and the evolution of where we are today. Where we are today is that yes, as I mentioned, we are we charge a subscription for the project. Obviously the base is free, but if you want some additional features, some features are kind of locked unless you have a subscription. My time now is really spent looking at the feature request that comes in from the open source community and what's coming in from our customers. And I had to come to grips with the fact that we have to actually have our customers being the priority. So any of those feature requests that comes in, we'll handle those immediately. We'll put those, queue them up, prioritize them, all that type of stuff. And then for the ones that comes from the community, we will look at those and then prioritize those second. And in a lot of cases, I'm starting to ask the community to get more engaged, right? I'm like, well, this is something that is not that difficult to do. Why don't you try implementing this? And my goal with doing that is to get people to, one, get them to buy into the project. And the best way they can buy into the project is by either paying money or getting involved in the project. And so the source code is there. It's on GitHub. I'm like, go for it. If you need help, let us know. So I want to be an enabler for those people. So I don't want to this necessarily like, I feel like in some cases, like I'm penalizing them because they're not a subscriber, but I just have to prioritize all the things that we have going on. And I also had to come to grips on how we have people. So sometimes people don't want to be a subscriber, but they want a feature. So they're like, can we pay you money to implement a feature? And for the longest, we did that. We just say, all right, cool, just give us, X number of dollars and we'll implement this feature. The problem with that, folks, is that feature is there for forever. For the life of the project, that feature is there. And a lot of them want that feature to work on new releases of Decent Router, but they're not a subscriber. So that means that cost that we did to develop it, that's great, appreciate it, but now who's paying the carrying cost for these features? Like, you know what I mean? So I think the way, and it caused a lot of frustration between us and the customer, because the customer's like, hey, I paid for this feature back in, the early days of Decent Router, and we expect it to be, continue to be free. And we finally came to a point where we're like, all right, the way we're going to do this is that only way people can pay for features is if they're a subscriber. If they're a subscriber, we'll put those features on a board, and we'll figure out which ones we can tackle each release. Obviously, if somebody wants that feature implemented, immediately, we'll charge the expedite fee to get that feature done. But by having it set up in a way that only customers can actually request features, it's really alleviated that problem that I just talked about. So in this episode, I just really wanted to address, GitHub stars versus revenue, and talk about the importance of, like, they're both important, but having and figuring out the best balance that works for you. Because I know a lot of people want to stay true to the open source roots, but you have to figure out how to pay for all the servers that you're using, your time, the staff, whoever is working with you on this project that is helping you maintain, create releases. All these things, they all take some level of money. So I hope this episode allowed you to start thinking through this, and maybe relates to some of the things that you've been thinking through in your own head. And that now you're not alone, right? There's other people who are running open source projects, such as myself, that are thinking through these things. It's not wrong to think through these things. It's not wrong to start evaluating how you're interacting with people that are using the project. And it's okay to come up with a way to monetize what you're working on. So if you got value out of this episode, please click the subscribe button. Take care. I'll talk to you on the next episode.